nothing is worse than when you go on you see a company and you see their website was built like 10, 15 years ago, and you're like, that design hasn't blended with modern transparency, and you now think, oh, they're just not tech focused, and it tarnishes that brand, even though that is actually probably a really good business, right? But it hasn't kept up with the modern standards, and it's now tarnishing its opinion.
Hey, Chris, how are you?
Yeah, good. Thanks. Yourself?
Doing well. Welcome to a Onepage interview here today. To give you a little brief intro here, I'm joined by Chris Starns. He's from Thurlestone. Thurlestone helps businesses bring new products and ideas to life. They work with companies, both big and small, to test if an idea makes sense, if people actually want it, and if they can succeed. They also build and launch their own ventures along the way. I know there's probably a lot more to that, but I just wanted to tee up the conversation a little bit for this interview, and we could talk about Thurlestone. So did I cover everything there? Is there anything you'd like to add about your business?
Yeah, you're pretty much to the point where I think the long-term goal, right, is to be something called a venture studio rut. We currently work within kind of like corporate innovation. So what we really like doing is working with entrepreneurs, big, small, everything, to really kind of validate an idea. So how can we de-risk the investments that they need to put in, whether that's kind of time investment, financial investment, kind of testing these ideas, whether they're viable, desirable, or even, basically if anyone's going to buy them. And we use Onepage kind of for that, which I'm sure we're going to talk about later. But yeah, that's what we really try and do here.
That's awesome. Yeah, so much time gets wasted on ideas that nobody wants. I can't tell you how much I've done that myself and seen it with other folks. So I love it. How did you get involved in this business? If you don't mind giving a little bit of backstory.
Yeah, so I've got a background in kind of corporate innovation. I was very fortunate enough when I was younger. I kind of built my first app when I was at university, a company called WHAT, which is called like an anagram for what's happening on campus, which it basically was a local loyalty scheme for students. The idea was that students traveled off to university, and because they were in a new place, they tended to flock to kind of the big brands they knew rather than spending locally. But the local community really thrived and needed that student spending. So what we tried to do was build a loyalty scheme where if you bought something in Jill's Cafe, you could redeem the loyalty points in Bill's Barbers, for example. So driving students to spend locally rather than kind of the big conglomerates. But I was relatively okay, but managed to exit that kind of at a young stage. And since then, just building and testing new ideas has always been my passion, should we say. I think as you said, a lot of things that happen is ideas get stuck in people's heads and they don't know whether to go forward with it or accelerate it. But what people don't realize is actually testing ideas isn't very expensive. They can kind of just talk to customers. You can kind of run experiments, which is what we kind of specialize in, and just kind of making sure that, hey, look, I think this is a good idea. Now the data proves that there is evidence that this is a good idea. It kind of helps me along the way think, okay, we can go through this rather than wasting time, capital, etc., in kind of ideas that are going to go nowhere.
I love it. So you're sort of having, initial sort of conversation or onboarding with the customer, understanding their idea, like maybe you're helping them, and oftentimes build their landing page, their website, or a set of pages maybe that are connected to ads. And then you're testing that idea maybe through ads, through customer surveys, like all kinds of different methods. Does that pretty much sound right?
Yeah. So for like Onepage, like the main purpose we use is for landing page conversions, right?
Yeah.
So we whack up, as the word says, a Onepage, right?
Yep.
Which clearly defines like what this proposition is, right? What's the problem it's solving? How is it going to solve it? A few kind of like testimonials if they have any, and kind of like pricing. Just a very simple one page with call to action transactions on, and we will send traffic to these pages, whether that's via Google ads, social ads, word of mouth, however. It's just one method we use to build a digital presence for this concept. So when someone is actually talking, when a potential entrepreneur is talking about their concept, they have somewhere to send the prospects to kind of back up the evidence. But then more importantly, being like, hey, look, I have this idea. You've seen this ad, you go through. Let's say 100 people visit the site and 10 people click join the waiting list or sign me up, for example, or register that call to action. We can see that 1 in 10 people actually would be interested in this product. There's fairly good conviction that there's something in this product. How many people actually convert is very different. But at least you've now got some evidence and data to back yourself up on.
Yeah, they're at least exchanging their email address. You're right. The conversion is a whole nother conversation, but email is part of the conversion. So, obviously there's a lot of different tools out there to build landing pages. You don't have to specifically name the product, but you were using other tools I would imagine before Onepage. Can you tell me a little bit more about your experience with those tools and sort of like how you're using them, and then ultimately what was sort of like the catalyst to switch over to Onepage?
Yeah, sure. I think, look, website builders there are hundreds of them. We're in a world now where there are now AI website builders where you literally talk to them and they build something, right? So we are fundamentally constantly testing products all the time. But I think what we are now seeing is website builders are owning a niche, and then they are being very, very, very good at this niche. There are the historic ones, Wordspace, which is typically around for a long, long time. You're seeing kind of the big conglomerates, and then you're seeing like more design-focused ones like Webflow, Framer.
Right.
But for us, like, that's not important. We need speed. We need a little bit of design configurability, but most importantly, simple and easy to use. We don't want to waste time in making something look super sexy, right? If the idea doesn't go anywhere,
Right.
It just needs to be quick, dirty, up, look relatively aesthetic, right? We live in a design world where it needs to be like that. But we just want speed, quick to market, analytics and everything are built in, and we can quickly, within a week, realize whether this idea is or not. If it's not, close it down. If it's all good, then we can expand and we can build on that and we can adapt from then on in. So really, we just moved away from kind of the big clunky ones, right? The ones that take a lot of time, have steep learning curves, for example, if you haven't learned them. And the AI ones now, why they're great at getting things up super quickly, they all look the same. It's very difficult. There's a very distinct AI designed website now where it's that same font, same thing, and you can change these, right? But I personally like a little bit of a manual touch. I think it feels more manual when someone sees something that's a little bit different. Now I see the speed to build software now has been so commoditized. People can whack things up quickly, left, right, and center, and they all just look the same. So design and branding is coming more in. So the nice blend of speed, but a little bit of like manual design, I think, is a good combination.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that you hit the nail on the head. You're combining speed with like a little bit of design. But again, you might throw this out in a few days. So you don't want to, spend months on making it pixel perfect, which you obviously don't need. You just want to run an ad to this page or send some users to this page to see how it converts. And it sounds like you're using some of the back end power of Onepage too, like perhaps the analytics, maybe like the pixel tracking codes, things like that. Are you using that to sort of like connect the data and test these assumptions?
Yeah, absolutely. Like the fact that I don't have to go and connect, like I can go and connect like the pixel tracking and the Facebook tracking, that's obviously super useful. But the fact that if I don't want to run social ads, analytics is built in already. I don't have to rely on Google Search Console, all of this, that I can just go set up, send ads and just figure it out. There's this element of where sometimes I'm a big believer in too much data is no use, right? So that you have too much data to analyze. Fundamentally, what Onepage is good at is it gives you just the data that you need, right? How many visits are coming, how many conversions, you can track your funnels and where roughly this is coming from, right? At the stage that we use it, we don't need any more than that. I don't need to know, for example, how long someone's been on a page for, what the lead time was, whether they clicked from kind of process to portfolio to kind of about us page. I don't need that information. That's too much. I just need to know how many people, if they're resonating with that one-page concept, they're resonating with the problem statements and resonating with our possible solution. That's all I care about. So all the other fluff is just not needed for me.
Yeah, and if you validate an idea, you can always add that stuff later. So what moving over to Onepage from other tools, like you said, there's a ton out there. What elements? I mean, you touched on some of this. I think like SEO, analytics, but it being simple. But what do you personally consider to be particularly important with Onepage, and how has Onepage made that easier for you?
Yeah, I think first of all, I think its name does exactly what it says on the tin, right? It's Onepage, and that's what we use it for. One-page validation. So it is built specifically for our use case and our need. Like obviously it can cater for so many other ones, right? We've built one-page websites for kind of like private equity firms. We've done websites for kind of like plumbers and like local service things and local service businesses. But sometimes over complexity is not needed. Onepage is sometimes all you need, right? So for us, the main reason why we use it is it's got its defined purpose and it's amazing for validation, right? Other things we've already talked about is built-in SEO and analytics, right? The analytics gives us all the information we need, but the SEO is obviously super useful. If someone has a new idea, and let's say they type in Chris's cookies, something, right? It's still going to take some time to rank on Google. So the quicker we can get it there, the quicker that kind of helps that validation process. Because let's say, if I don't have that direct link, and I just say, oh, that guy, Chris's cookie was doing some stuff around the office, type it in, it's not going to show. So the quicker we can get higher up on Google, the better, because that helps the validation process a little bit more. And then fundamentally just the designs, the plug and play designs. You go on some websites now, the templates they have are they're a bit outdated.
Right.
Design language is changing constantly. And what Onepage does is they constantly updating their templates. They're constantly updating their like plug-in bits that you can just add in that look modern, right? They don't necessarily need to be the most up to date and constantly changing, but they are at least configurable to modern design language. Nothing is worse than when you go on you see a company and you see their website was built like 10, 15 years ago, and you're like, that design hasn't blended with modern transparency, and you now think, oh, they're just not tech focused, and it tarnishes that brand, even though that is actually probably a really good business, right? But it hasn't kept up with the modern standards, and it's now tarnishing its opinion. So those are kind of our three main reasons for it.
Love that. And you're right. You can detect those sites right away. You're like, oh wow, this hasn't been updated since a decade ago. Okay, so I think this is a good time to take a look and pull up your website if you don't mind. You've built this, website with Onepage. This is the sort of like front face of your business. Of course, you built lots of other sites for customers, but just walk me through some of the elements on this page, so your thought process for building this page, and talk a little bit behind the scenes, like what you were using within Onepage to make this all come together.
Yeah, fundamentally, we try and keep things super simple, right?
Yeah.
Like simple hero thing with a simple telling people straight away what we do, what we don't do, right? We design and develop new proposition and ventures, super clear. A little bit of blurb underneath, because I'm not a too corporate guy. We like it to be a little bit fancy. And then just 2 call to actions where people can go. They can have a look at what we built and what we're building, or they can work with us, right? And we try to keep this one page, because what we believe is fundamentally, a lot of people, what we see is actually they only interact with one page. They'll scroll down through that one page, and if they don't like what they see, they won't click on your like process, your portfolio, your contacts, right? So your one page is your most important one. So we try and get as much, at least a summary, into that one page as possible. And then if people want to learn more, they have the opportunity to filter out. So my kind of process is a hero call to action to let people know what we do, which generates interest. If that's a successful hero page, then they'll start scrolling down, you find out a little bit more.
Right.
When we scroll down to ours, we just give a little background into kind of who we are. And then we do 3 kind of service offerings, right? So how we build our ventures for people. So we do it in sprints. So opportunity discovery, which is basically figuring out, is this opportunity worth it? Concept incubation, which is where we kind of sit here, we validate, we do further tests, we look at it on a stress test, is this actually financially viable? And then once that's gone through that stage of venture acceleration, like what do we need to do to bring it to market?
Gotcha.
Build out a product, funding if needed, just the go-to-market kind of stuff. And if people like that, they can link off, or we can look at some of the products we've built. So some of these are client ones, some of these are ours. So I talked about kind of Walk, which is my first venture originally, which was acquired a while back ago. And then we've got kind of a mixture of kind of early stage startups to some corporate innovation projects. There's more projects on here, but these are just kind of some initial ones that we've put for now. We don't go into too much detail with it, but it's just showing that what we can do. There is obviously opportunity for us to kind of dive these into more case studies, etc. But we just kind of put the statuses of where they're at. Like some have been acquired, some have delivered, some we're building at the moment. So for example, Fuel is like a fuel management system in Africa that we're working with kind of one of the governments to leverage. They have a massive issue with fuel fraud over there, where people are effectively being paid in cash to fill up trucks and tankers, and people are basically ciphering cash off the top. So let's say they're given $100 to fill up the truck. They're basically using $80 and then pocketing the $20. So
Gotcha.
Automating that process to prevent that. And another one we're looking at is Glossy, right, which is a software platform that allows you to basically book car washing basically at home or at spaces that you're currently at. So for example, if you're a member of a golf club and Glossy is one of the partners, you can have your car washed at some of the golf clubs, for example, that we partner with. So that's something we've kind of validated that customers and consumers want. So we're just in the process of building those and bringing those to market. But that's kind of the process.
Yeah, thanks so much for taking me through the page. I completely agree. I think I know my own buying behavior is I'll look at maybe the front page, but I know a lot of people just look at like sort of the hero. They make their decision right there, right? Do I want to continue to check out this page after looking at the hero or not? The decision this day is usually made in the first 5 to 10 seconds of looking at a page. You've done a really good job making this look really good with Onepage and just giving enough information. I love the portfolio. I think it's just like super clean, super easy to see. I love the statuses. So I think you did a really good job putting this page together. And I think you recently refreshed this page and it really shows. It looks really, really good. So thanks for, walking through the page here. You have some forms. Are these all native to Onepage, like this email form, or is this something you're embedding? Yeah.
All of these are built in with Onepage natives. I'm
Gotcha.
just a believer in that if something's built in native, right, fundamentally I believe it works better than integrating with some what might be best in class, right? So this all works seamlessly. It doesn't break for us, so I'd rather just kind of build natively than kind of add things in.
Totally makes sense. Okay, well, thank you so much again for going through that page with us. Really like to just sort of like hear your story and everything that you've done with Onepage. So as we wrap this up, I just want to ask you, a final question. Like, just again, how important is Onepage right now to your work, to your business, and how has it improved and simplified your work overall?
Yeah, look, the biggest benefit and the biggest compliment I can give to Onepage is we work, so website builders, there's loads of them, right? We are constantly testing the market, and fundamentally, consumers like myself are not sticky to one product.
Right.
The fact that we haven't left Onepage is probably the best benefit I can give it, right? So we are constantly testing different providers, all these AI tools are coming out, and we think, okay, great, that's going to dramatically speed up our process. We're still here because fundamentally, it's still, for us, the best product at this moment in time. And when you've been working with them for so long and you're seeing, what I love actually is we get product updates all the time, and they are building features, that fundamentally we need. Onepage stands in, it does exactly like I said on the tin for us. It is a one-page website builder. If we need something more for a product, then it's fine. We can admit that sometimes we need to migrate from it, but fundamentally, our speciality is working in the early stage and we don't need more than one page. If we do, then we accept that sometimes that's not the case. But truthfully, for what we need it for, we haven't really gone anywhere else. We've tried loads of others and this is just perfect for what we need. Everything built in, super quick and simple, has the ability to blend kind of like pre-made designs with custom development on it. It's great for what we need.
Yeah, I'm so glad to hear that. And I'm glad that it's worked well for your business. Definitely, we try to blend the ability to use a template if you want, or custom components or elements or sections if you want, but you can also completely start from scratch. So sort of agnostic, like not super opinionated, I should say, on what, sort of designs are there. But if you want to use them, the themes, the templates, the components, they're all there for you. Well, we will link to your business in the show notes of this video. So if anybody is curious to learn more about your business and maybe you can help them, we will put that link in the show notes. But thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us today. Tell us a little bit about your business and how you're using Onepage. We really appreciate your time.
Yeah, no, really appreciate it as well. It's good fun.